I've come here today to make you the luckiest girl in the entire world, Mrs. Jean-Claude Magnum.
Sorry, Ninja Boy, I'm not interested.
Whoa, slow down there, Mai.
Give me one good reason why I should marry this clown.
Because if you don't marry him, I won't be able to visit your Beverly Hills mansion.
Greetings once again, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of Geek News Anime Night, where we take a particular series, in this case, the Duels of the Battle City preliminaries, and we analyze them and we give our thoughts on whether or not they are good or bad. I am your host, the Ninja Kabuki Commander, Drac, aka Adam Mickelson. I hope everybody's having an awesome day or night when you are joining us for this. And joining me also is the Ninja Commando, the Shadow Blazer. Alex, it seems kind of weird to call the Lord of the Shadows a ninja and or a commando, because I think you pretty much got both of those down.
Makes perfect sense. And after all, ninjas operate in the shadows.
They do, in fact. In fact, they live in the shadows. And according to folklore, they are born in the shadows. So... yes. That just screams to me that the maternity ward in the Shadow Realm is amazing and great benefit.
Definitely.
So at that point, now this is going to be a first for both you and me, Alex, because having a celebrity on the podcast has always been something that we've wanted to do, but we haven't really been able to make it work. So I'm going to ask you, contain yourself, as I introduce our special celebrity guest, Brinton Claude Magnum. Brinton, how are you doing? Blinton Claude Magnum. I don't know why that happened. I had this planned out and everything, and I flubbed it. It's like Sid Vicious all over again.
Oh my gosh, no, it's totally fine, man. That was just amazing. I'm great.
Yeah, this is like the Sid Vicious moment where he literally looked at Mean Gene and went, "Hey, can we cut this?" "No, we can't cut it. This is live, dumbass." So, welcome, everybody, to the last preliminary duel in the Battle City tournament, and that is the debut duel of one MAI Valentine. Because remember, she got all of her locator cards off screen, and she is going to be going up against ex-boyfriend. I'm going to go with Stalker. I'm going to go with absolute Stalker, Jean-Claude Magnum, and his deck of ninjas. So at that point, I have a feeling that there's going to be lots and lots of ninja puns that are going to be made throughout this entire thing, as well as whatever Jean-Claude Van Damme clips that I can find on the internet, especially from the movie Street Fighter, because he is just schlocky in that film. And unlike Raul Julia, he actually looks like he's not enjoying it, where Raul Julia is like, "I am having a fucking fun time." So at that point, let's go into the quick composition here. If people remember how Mai's deck worked out in Duelist Kingdom, it's pretty much the same, except there is now a new synergy within it. If people remember, because of her weird Duelist Kingdom shtick, she only really had like 10 or 11 unique cards in there. Her boss monster was Harpy's Pet Dragon, which isn't the greatest boss monster. And then she had Harpy Lady, she had Harpy's Feather Duster, which is basically the rare card that actually gets her into the Battle City tournament. Which is funny, because when the Battle City tournament started, a Yu-Gi-Oh! Video game literally came out with Harpy's Feather Duster as a card. So it's rare in the universe, not so much in real life. And so you have the Harpy synergy here, but you didn't really have a whole lot, and they kind of tease here, and we'll see more in the finals, that Mai has a added synergy to her deck, which is the Amazons, which is actually a cool archetype within Yu-Gi-Oh! I wish it saw more play. And it's going up against Jean-Claude Magnum's Ninja deck, which is a horrible display of what an actual ninja/samurai deck can do in modern day Yu-Gi-Oh! But we'll get to those as we go along. So Really quick, you guys' thoughts walking into this, considering that it is MAI's first duel shown in Battle City.
Well, my first thought was, hey, it's a MAI duel. It should be interesting.
And was it
It wasn't.
interesting?
No.
Yeah. Brenton, what about you?
My first thought was oh crap. Hold on. It was I didn't remember this duel very well from my childhood when I first watched Battle City.
Neither did I.
It was more of a like, okay, interested. Like I don't remember I don't remember this at all. So
Yeah.
I get to watch this with fresh eyes, essentially. So I looked forward to whatever shenanigans were about to begin.
Yeah, I remembered it very differently because I could have sworn that more Amazon cards were played in this duel before she gets her debut in the finals, and turns out, no, she only played one. But it is still an important Amazon synergy card, so at that point, I'll at least give it that credit. And this is actually the first time that a Ninja Samurai deck is shown in Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm like literally thinking through GX and what I've seen of 5Ds, and I don't think much else. Because, guys, Blackwings don't count. I get that a lot of the Blackwing cards have kind of like a samurai ninja motif, but no, I'm talking like actual samurai and ninjas, because there actually are decks in modern day Yu-Gi-Oh! Or at least old school modern day Yu-Gi-Oh! That were pretty freaking amazing and were nothing but samurai and nothing but ninjas. It's like the shogunate all over again, and they can destroy you. So much so that I've actually had fun making one of those in Master Duel. So, yeah, so that's the breakdown, so to speak. But for all the people that want to scream at me because I've already seen this debate happen online, no, Mai had lots of duels because she has all her locator cards. I'm not saying she didn't have a lot of duels. She didn't have a lot of duels on camera. She got all of her locator cards before then. And so basically she shows up Yugi versus Joey, I want to say. I don't think she shows up before that. Because then we got to see her epic initial D driving. Because I will never let that go. It's going to be a thing.
Because the only episode I can think of was at the very start when Battle City's announced.
Yes, she showed up there, but then we never saw her again till she had to get Serenity to Joey.
That tracks. That's like that completely tracks.
So at that point, let's get into the next step here. Did you like or dislike this duel? Alex has pretty much answered that. Brinton, what about you?
I'm pretty neutral about it.
Mhm.
There were elements of the other duelist that were creepy, and the whole thing pretty much was just a farce.
It really was.
But it's good. But it was a good. I feel like because I got to think of it in the time that it was produced and animated and released and written.
Yeah.
It was good. Like it was a good comical relief prior to the shit show that is the finals that's about to begin.
Well, and on top of that, from what I've been told, I've not been able to find this anywhere online, but somebody was saying that Kazuki Takahashi actually, like when he created Magnum's deck, he wanted it to symbolize Mai's Duelist Kingdom deck, where it was basically, it was held down by the fact that Harpy Lady was kind of the main monster, and so in that case, a lot of the stuff is like really low-level ninja monsters, like nothing aside from the Kabuki King, or the Kabuki Commander, is above 700. And so at that point, like all of these would be considered uber weak cards, unless they had effects that would justify having them out, and they would just get trashed, as people saw with Mai. But it was basically supposed to be a reflection of like, this is how weak Mai's deck used to be and what its original problem was, and now because I guess in the manga this duel lasted longer, it was a reflection of like how Mai has changed as a duelist. And I haven't read the manga, so I can't confirm that. And on top of that, it's tough to call that like a a reflection of Mai's deck, because at least he had like 5 unique monsters that were all low. And if you really want to continue call the Ninja Commander his boss monster, then at that point, okay, but that's 1600. Like, there are monsters that are 4-star that could easily kick the crap out of the Kabuki Commander. So at that point, I wouldn't necessarily call it a strong deck. And compared to my Duelist Kingdom deck, I mean, her trademark monster was 1300, and so that's like kind of mid-level. And her boss monster is kind of mid-level in terms of like raw attack power. It's completely dependent on the fact that you have to have multiple Harpies out in order to make it super strong. So I don't know if I necessarily buy that, but it is cool to be able to see more decks that have a synergy or a theme behind them. Because with Yugi, even though I have said in the past, like, spellcaster deck, you don't really see that because he does have warriors in it. The only comparison that we have here in any way or form is probably Arcana, because he was strictly spellcaster, or Weevil because he was strictly insect. This is a strictly ninja deck, and a really weak ninja deck, might I add.
Yeah, it makes me wonder how he had even gotten 5 locator cards to begin with, and also how he.
I think he basically looked up at everybody and went, "I'll give you an autograph if you give me a locator card." Because
another thing that also just popped into my mind is that he could have bought his way in. I 100%.
Oh, he totally could have. I think Kaiba would have taken his money and probably laughed at him when he lost. So
for sure.
That's Kaiba as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, I'm gonna say that I'm kind of neutral on this duel as well. I just remember it to be better than it actually was. And I'm not saying it's bad. You can see good strategy being pulled off in it, considering how long the duel was. It's just not great compared to some of the other duels that we've seen up until that point. So
definitely not.
That being said, let's go into the positives of this duel, if there are any to be able to get into. One thing I will point out, like I pointed out, is the ninja deck. Like, he did have a deck that synergized with itself and had a theme to it. And we also did get to see Mai using other cards aside from Harpy-based cards. Because I can tell you, after Battle City, that is not gonna be the case. I don't know why, but in Waking the Dragon, she went right back to Harpies. And I'm, like, by that point, I was like, I'm sick and tired of your friggin' Harpies! So that being said, those are positives that I would give. Brinton, any positives of this duel?
Like, I would say it was fun-ish. This is the first time where I feel like a lot of the background noise and clatter that I have criticized for most of this podcast series so far was something that I did enjoy.
Yes.
Dare I say, it felt like there was some sort of blossoming romance between Mai and Joey. I just felt like a lot of the banter that they were throwing at each other was more flirtatious than it has been in the past.
Yes. In fact, one of the things I kind of liked was that, Serenity is new to all this, and so when she actually sees a girl duelist out there, she's like, wow, she's really cool, and I actually kind of want to be like that. And I think that's kind of what sparks her into Enter the Shadow Realm when she eventually wants to duel herself. And so you can kind of thank Mai for that. I liked a lot of that stuff, and I also, like, in a lot of cases, I do agree with a lot of people. This was more of a Mai and Joey relationship episode than it was a Mai duel. And part of that is because of a lot of the background talk that was happening between Serenity and Joey and Tristan, and Joey and Duke. And it's one of the times where that tends to outshine the duel, especially when you have such a corny opponent. Jiminy Christmas, Jean-Claude Magnum is so corny. Freaking corny, man.
There is a fair amount. I mean, I have some things to say about this individual. So,
any other positives that we want to get into? Because that's it for me.
I don't have anything else to add.
right.
The duel was short enough that I don't really have anything to say about it.
So negatives. Alex, do you want to lead us off with that?
Just gonna say the episode was boring. I fell asleep during it. I don't remember anything about it. It was a very boring, forgettable duel.
Yes, it kind of is. I will even admit this, like, it's not long enough to be memorable in any way, shape, or form. I mean, for crying out loud, there are some Yu-Gi-Oh! GX duels that are as long as this and feel like they have a lot more going on in those turns. And so that's definitely something that goes against it. The duel is incredibly short, might I add. So that's why in a lot of cases I'm kind of disillusioned. I'm like, I remember this duel being longer, and it really isn't.
Well, I wouldn't really call it much of a duel.
It really isn't. It's like
if
a
I'm to be
couple of
honest.
turns. It's kind of a couple of turns. It's not like even a modern day Yu-Gi-Oh nuke. It's a couple of turns, then it's done.
It was just it was a creep fest.
Mhm.
First and foremost, the fact that I guess I'll go ahead and get into it just a little bit. First and foremost, I thought it was super creepy that he even knew where to find Mai, and that he's been holding on to this joking proposal or lack of a response really from Mai about if you beat me in a game of Duel Monsters, sure, yeah, I guess I'll tie the knot with you.
I would totally
And the
agree
dude-
with you if I didn't
and the
know
dude-
somebody in my life that actually was kind of like that.
And I think a thing that makes me laugh a little bit, or I guess make me cry a little bit at the same time, is that I find it a little bit concerning that over 20 years ago now, the Japanese considered Americans to be that borderline creepy and stalkerish and wasteful of resources.
Yeah.
I didn't super love that portrayal, yet at the same time, I was just like, that probably wasn't super far off from the truth.
Well, and the problem is that unfortunately, like when we look at Jean-Claude Magnum, he is a caricature of some Hollywood celebrities, and especially around the time Yu-Gi-Oh was popular, a lot of said celebrities were popular at the time. And so at that point, like, I have a feeling I'm going to bring this guy up a number of times. Steven Seagal. He's very reminiscent of Steven Seagal to me in the fact that, he's got the whole shtick of, oh, he does his own stunts. Oh, he knows martial arts. He can kick your ass. And it turns out, like, I'm not saying Steven Seagal doesn't know how to kick your ass. He totally does. But he also is a lot of bravado, as people have learned throughout the years.
Well, I was going to say his accent to me was very reminiscent of Matthew McConaughey. And then for some reason, and I don't know if it was just because the voice actor couldn't keep up with the accent or they literally brought in a new voice actor mid-episode, but he totally lost his Texan accent once the duel started. And I don't know if you guys noticed that or not.
It wouldn't surprise me if the guy had a sick day or something like that, and then didn't have any notes on like how he played it, so the guy just played it straight. Because I agree with you, like there's a point where he sounds like he's got maybe some kind of an accent, and then he's playing it straight throughout the rest.
He might have just dropped it for the sake
It
of
could be that
simplicity
too.
of getting through it. Because you gotta remember with like this kind of dubbing, they're actually having to match their lip flaps, and I imagine trying to do accents accurately. I mean, some anime can do it fine, but
Yeah.
it gets to be tough when you have to try to map.
Well, and probably the
lip
other thing
flaps.
too is the engineer is probably looking at him going, why are you giving him like a Texan accent? Like he's supposed to be like Jean-Claude Van Damme, and Jean-Claude Van Damme is from, what is it, Belgium?
That is so funny.
I think it's Belgium.
Another
Another thought. Sorry, Brenton. Let me just.
No, go ahead.
Yeah,
Go right ahead.
So just another thought is it might just be a quick like shorthand way to develop his character real fast, just indicate that he's supposed to be like foreign from an outside country, and then they're just like, okay, that once that's done, then they don't worry about it.
Or actually adding on to your thought, like he's supposed to be fake. like 100% fake in this, so maybe that was why they played it that way, is so that he seemed fake.
Well, it just kind of reminds me of Evangelion, right? With Tiffany Grant, she kind of started off Asuka with a bit of an accent, with a German accent, but she never really kept it going. So I assume Grant just did it to kind of establish that Asuka is supposed to be German. So that's probably what's going on here.
Or at least in her case, that she had lived in Germany for a good portion of her life, and now she was because the argument that you could also make is like enough time has passed between these angel attacks that she's probably acclimated to society. So at that point, she's got the isms down. So at that point, other negatives that we can point out. In the end, Jean-Claude Magnum turns out to be a fake idiot. So in other words, another typical Hollywood celebrity.
Right.
And so, like, I'm going to make a bunch of these comparisons. He is supposed to be, like, he's not even supposed to be Jean-Claude Van Damme. Because Jean-Claude can actually do shit. He's supposed to be like a Steven Seagal, where like he says he does his own stunts, but I mean, even Steven has admitted he doesn't do all of his own stunts. So at that point, you know, you can't really make that claim, except you want to be able to live on the hype that you do, kind of thing. And it actually, what's funny is he kind of sucked at building his hype. Joey was a much better hype builder than he was. Because at that point, Joey, like 50% of this time, he's either mocking or ogling over MAI, and the other 50% is how much of a Jean-Claude Magnum fan he was. Safe to say. I mean, for crying out loud, he had to actually say at the end, like, and I'm telling you right here and now, I'm leaving your fan club. Which, I don't know why Jean-Claude reacted the way he did. Because there's no way anybody at, like, a con would do that. You remember how he reacted? He's like, I'm sorry you feel that way, but I'm telling you, it won't be, my success won't be the same without you.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, he actually said that. I'm like, that's kind of a dick thing to say, but I could totally see a dick like him saying it. So, yeah, I think those are the positives and the negatives of it. I'm pretty sure I'm the only one that has notes for this, right?
Probably.
Yeah, for one episode, I just kind of like pretty much my thoughts were what I shared.
So let me go ahead and get into my notes here really quick for Lights, Camera, Duel. So holy crap, MAI made a wise decision with parking 2 blocks away to avoid traffic at the end of the tournament. You got to give her credit there. That was probably a good idea.
I mean, she is a pretty smart, like she's a smart cookie. Out of everybody in that group of imbeciles, she is a pretty smart cookie.
And here's the thing, she will have her imbecile moments, but it's all right because she also has smart moments like this. Yeah, I thought that was actually really funny how they pointed that out because, and on top of that, it's just another Initial D reference that I could totally take advantage of. It's like, it's almost like she knew a big race was happening and knew that it was going to be overflowed. And so she parked at the bottom of the mountain and just walked all the way up. So,
and in a sense of dramatic irony, I mean, we're out of the 3 of us, we know that's not how the finals are going to be like. So in her defense, her thinking, oh, this is just going to be in some stadium, everybody else is going to come park. Like, yeah, of course, like, more than happy to all take you all home, but let's not park where everybody else is. Like, It made sense.
You know, like she's done a tournament or two. Typically, Joey asks. Typical Joey. This is when he asks an honest question of MAI because he wants to know like the legit reason she gave him her Duelist Kingdom entry card. And so typical Joey asks a legit question, and when MAI gives him a legit answer, he has an ADD moment at the nearest movie poster. That's
so relatable.
Yeah, I mean, like, can we just call this like Joey Knucklehead moment number 55?
Sure.
Yeah.
You've been counting?
I'm just assuming that that's the number. I mean, I totally have been listening to Yu-Gi-Oh while I've been working, but I haven't kept count. So,
That's fair enough.
This one I also liked. So this was the point where Jean-Claude introduces himself, which, by the way, is a very Hollywood way to introduce himself. So limo crashing through the movie posters, and same star pops out. I don't think he gets the concept of marketing, considering that the posters all had his face on it. Oh, and yeah, by the way, you're touching Joey. Yeah, it's that anime stereotype of like, oh shit, I'm touching him. I can't whistle on cue, apparently. I love those moments. That's why I'm saying this is more of a relationship episode between Mai and Joey than it is anything else.
Yeah, that's why I said it felt like they were like there was just a lot of flirty moments.
There were. They really were. I love that they added this into the script. Lol, he's only the 9th biggest box office draw, huh? I
guess so.
I mean, even Arnold and Sly wouldn't admit that they were the 9th. They'd be saying that they're the number 1 box office draw. But okay, he's the 9th. Good God, Jean-Claude Magnum is like someone I knew way back when. So I have to explain this. I am not naming names. I did know a guy that made the weird promise to himself because he thought he was so uber great at video games that the second that a woman beat him, he would get down on one knee and propose.
So did he?
Yes. To my future wife.
What?
Wow.
Don't do that, Alex. You were there. Yeah, so
I wasn't there for that.
so I again, I can't name the guy because I appreciate him, but this is just one of his quirks. He thought he was like the uber gamer. And so at that, like, he was playing games that none of us had ever heard of, and primarily because he was a huge abuser of emulators and stuff like that. And so at that point, he was playing like Japanese games that nobody knew about. And that's cool. I don't have any problem with it, but he thought his gaming prowess was so amazeballs that if anybody could truly beat him, it was like a true feat. Like you were the Goku of video games if you could beat him. And spoiler alert, it wasn't that hard to beat him.
So just out of curiosity, now that you've even brought up the story, what was the game?
I want to say it was a fighting game. I know that. It was either Dragon Ball Z Budokai 2 or it was Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
Okay,
And
well, good for her.
And so at that point, like, my wife to be at the time decided, oh, why not? I'll play around because, as most people know, Andrea's not the biggest fighting game fan. She will play games like Smash, but there are a lot of fighting games that she's just not interested in, and Marvel vs. Capcom is probably not one of them. And so she decided to pick it up, and he even did the whole, I don't want to call it chauvinist, it was just him being a dork, where he's like, I will totally play on a lower level. I will lower my power level so that you have a chance. And she just got a couple of really lucky combos and strikes, and she won.
That's awesome. Good for her.
And the second he got on the knee, I'm like, don't you dare. You weren't there for that part, Alex. Because, I knew what was about to happen. The other thing that was also this guy's kind of quirk was, he very much lived up to the stereotype of, oh, I totally have a girlfriend. She just lives in another state. Because he loved hanging out in chat rooms. So in a lot of cases, all of his girlfriends never were usually there. They were referenced, and he did treat, I'll give him credit. He did treat them like serious relationships, but maybe that shouldn't have been the case. And then he made that stupid claim of the first woman that beats me in a video game, I will immediately propose to. I have no problem telling you this happened about 4 times. Not just with my soon-to-be wife, with other women that we knew. And so at that point, I love the guy dearly. His gaming skill is not godly. I have seen godly. I'm not going to call his gaming skill godly.
My gosh.
Yes. So at that point, like, I'm laughing at Jean-Claude Magnum, but I'm also being reminded of this person and affectionately laughing at the memories. And yeah, because here's the thing. Unlike Jean-Claude Magnum, this guy actually is a good dude. Jean-Claude Magnum is not a good dude. And he's not meant to be. So moving on into the next one, if you don't marry him, so this was an actual quote from the script. If you don't marry him, Mai, I can't come visit you in your Hollywood mansion. And, sorry, I have to go really deep here. And that's when Joey wished he realized he fucked up. But he's an idiot. Sorry, guys, that's as deep as I can go. But that, like, this is when the time traveler realized he fucked up. So, yeah, that happened. That was the weirdest thing, is, like, he was both against Jean-Claude marrying Mai, because the whole premise of the Duel, guys, was if Jean-Claude won, he got to marry Mai. And if Mai won, then he had to leave her alone. So, just the stupidest thing ever, and for some reason, Joey was like endorsing it, going, you could live in a mansion and you could have amazing stuff and clothes, and that's all you care about, right? You just showed her the heart of the cards, Joey. Can it?
That's Joey for you.
It is Joey. It's this. I guess this would be Knucklehead moment number 56. So Jean-Claude Magnum has some serious kung fu skills, according to Duke Devlin. Yeah, I'll bet he's a real Steven Seagal. I'm not knocking Steven, people. I know he can defend himself. But is Jean-Claude Magnum as skilled as, say, Jean-Claude Van Damme is in Muay Thai? No, absolutely not. In fact, we find out later, he totally isn't. So, lol, the puns from Mai are great. She had so many puns about his ranking in Hollywood, the B movies that he creates. It was actually one of the more enjoyable points for me, is just he would come back with, and now you're going to be mine, my dearest. And then she'd bounce back about how much of a loser he is in the box office. Gotta say, that was actually pretty enjoyable. Yay, Mai has new cards! New card, rather. Actually, no, she did showcase 2 or 3 new cards. And yeah, that's just one of those emphasis on the Amazon part of her deck now, which I actually thought was a great idea, considering how I Am Woman, Hear Me Roar Mai is. She is very catty in a lot of her stuff. She wants all of the designer clothes, the hot cars, and all that, but she also is very I Am Woman, Hear Me Roar. And so for her having Amazons in her deck, it actually kind of fits with how she, like, it fits with her personality that she has these Amazons in her deck. So I really like the fact that they were showcasing she has other cards now, including Cyber Harpy, which by now had actually come out. And so you didn't have to have Harpy Lady plus, what was that card called? Cyber Shield. You didn't have to have that. So that was actually pretty good. Oh my gosh, Joey has got the hots for Mai. Bad. This was when at the end of the duel, Jean-Claude is a actually no, this is not after the duel. This is during, when it actually looks like Mai is going to lose because she gets knocked down to about 200 life points. And so he immediately starts reaching out to Yugi and to Tristan on tips, and then just relaying them to Mai. And I'm kind of surprised she never bounced back with, I heard them, you idiot. Because, like, they're literally behind her. So, there you go. I like that. But yes, he has the hots for Mai. Real bad. If Waking the Dragons is any indication. So many freaking ninjas! He has like 6 individual ninjas that come out. Pretty much. And fun fact, I did not know about this, but apparently in the sub of the anime, he makes some kind of, he makes a kind of a sexist remark about Mai when he brings out the Ninja Girl card in his deck. and says, wow, you would look really great in this for our wedding if we did a ninja theme or something like that. Basically saying that she should be wearing the kunoichi outfit that the ninja girl is wearing, which is supposed to make him even more of a jerk, but I understand why that never made it to the dub, because that probably would have gone a tad too far.
Well, I mean, this also was a show for kids.
And on top of that, like, I get that it's supposed to be, like, oh, Mai would look really sexy and all that, but in reality, the ninja girl outfit in there, compared to what Mai wears for Battle City, yeah, she'd actually be covering up in order to be able to pull that off, because as we will have this discussion later when Mai duels in the finals, one of the arguments online is that she's basically a Victoria's Secret model dueling in the Battle City finals, and it's hard not to argue that because of what she's wearing. Just saying, because it does kind of look like she's dueling in lingerie, not gonna lie. But that being said, after this duel, and this is when the duel ended, after this duel, I miss Johnny Cage.
Oh my God.
And I shit you not, as soon as I was done with this duel period, I actually did go to watch a bunch of like Johnny Cage clips on YouTube. Just because like Johnny Cage at least has a flavor to him. Jean-Claude Magnum does not. So wow, Magnum really loves his B-movie tactics that he decides to use them in real life. This is when he loses and becomes a sore loser and actually has an actor in the kabuki outfit and tries to kidnap Mai in order to marry her. Just thoughts on that moment.
Impressive, because I'm not entirely sure how, like, at what point they did the switcheroo when he played all the cards and like the holograms popped up.
Makes you wonder, doesn't it? But yeah, it's
it also goes on to accentuate what I've already said before, that he is, and just the fact that he is a stalker. He had all of this completely planned out. That's premeditation. If Mai really, really wanted to, she very well could have just been like, yeah, could we have this person arrested?
Probably.
This is creepy, wrong.
Let's call Chief Mokuba to call the cops.
I don't see why not.
Actually, I could totally see Mokuba coming in going, violation, and putting the cuffs on himself. Okay, so the next thing I have is, and of course, after doing something to win Mai over, Joey then takes his foot and jams it right down his throat. This is when they try to rescue Mai, and she ends up having to fall, and Joey's like, I promise, I will catch you. And she literally just falls on him, because I'm pretty sure that she's got maybe a couple of inches height-wise on him, and probably has a little bit more chest weight, let's put it that way, that is probably going to weigh her down a little bit more. And so at that point, when she picks him up because he's thoroughly concussed at that point, he actually does say, like, no problem, it was great to be able to save you, but man, I kind of wish that I could have gone to your Hollywood mansion. Knucklehead moment number 3000 at this point. And of course, Alex is probably giggling at this point because it's classic Joey.
Yeah, it is.
So, but yeah, I think I summed it up very well. Is like, and of course, after doing something to win Mai over, Joey then takes his foot and jams it down his throat. So yeah, overall, great corny episode. Awesome to see new cards from Mai and some relationship development for her and Joey. But that's ultimately what it was, is that it was just kind of building up a relationship between Joey and Mai, where they were kind of hinting at that at the end of Duelist Kingdom. And even in I always forget that this existed, the video game episode, where they all got stuck in Kaiba's, like, prototype video game for Duel Monsters, and it turns out that Mai was also testing it. So we have another moment there where, like, Joey and Mai relationship is getting built, but here's where a lot of that happens. So overall, if we had to, out of 5, give this a ranking, where would we put Mai versus Jean-Claude Magnum? I'd say a 2.
I said I was neutral. I'm gonna give this like a 3.
I think it's a duel, but a lot of the elements of the episode are actually outside of the duel. So I'd give it a 2. Because again, I really was kind of disappointed in how I remembered this not being how it was. Alex, I think you said 2.
I said 1.
Oh, you said 1? Okay, yeah, because you were bored as crap.
1, 2, 3.
There you go.
Hey.
All right, and then just to kind
I
of
don't
wrap
think
things
we've ever
up,
done that.
if people remember for the Bakura versus Bones episode, we actually went into what we thought were the best of the Battle City preliminary duels that we saw. I'm going to do the same thing here, but I'm going to limit it a little bit because it's the worst. And if people want to know what we thought about the worst duels, it's all there. So just give us your one worst duel to have to sit through for these preliminaries. Alex, why don't you start?
Definitely this one.
Wow, come from behind victory.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so this one, because even the other bad duels had something that this one didn't.
Yeah, even the bad ones.
Okay.
They still had more to go to.
All right.
This one was just a one and done, and it was really dull.
Okay. Brinton, what about you? What is the worst Battle City duel?
Joey Merrick versus Yugi, because it was a colossal waste of time.
It
completely
really
unnecessary.
is. Yes, it really is.
And I'm going to argue more so a waste of time than the episode that we just literally talked about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I would actually agree because, like, even Jean-Claude Van Damme versus Mai actually is a productive duel compared to Yugi and Joey. Just because, like, for those who didn't notice on YouTube when I put it up, this is the rematch no one wanted. Because it's obviously not the rematch we want, and also it's not the kind of rematch that we want to see. And I think that's 100% true.
I mean, I liked Mai versus Gene because I thought it was fun. I know that in the previous episode it was just a single duel as well. However, I'm not a huge fan of Bakura, so
Yeah.
I don't really, and I like Mai. So I liked this a little bit better. I felt that.
Well, on top of that, the better duel for Bakura is coming up. Like,
no, exactly.
Bakura versus Bones is just, it's too short.
And also completely unnecessary.
Yes.
I felt like Mai's duel, albeit her debut for at least this arc, was comical and fun, albeit creepy and just remotely not okay.
Yeah.
But at least it was something fun and enjoyable for the most part. I mean, I'm obviously speaking from my own opinion, because we're about to get into some really, really heavy duels.
Right.
And a lot of crazy shit is about to happen. So it's nice to have something chill, relaxing, fun-ish, before we start getting into some pretty crazy crap.
Right. So for myself, I actually, because I didn't want to be like the repeat offender here, and unfortunately for all those who know, like, as far as story and stakes and all of that is going, Yugi versus Joey / Merrick is the one for me. I hate that duel. I can never go back to it. It's such a slog to be able to sit through. And so at that point, that would be what mine is, but I kind of wondered if Brinton was going to do the same, and maybe even Alex. So I threw in an extra one just so that we would have something else to talk about, which is the worst technical duel that I had to go through, which was basically the one where I had tons of fouls to call, and it actually was a slog to go through because I had to go through every single card and analyze it. And I went through all of them to see like how many fouls that I got for each one of them. And the winner by far was Joey versus Weevil, because of how many cards were not used properly. So,
oh my gosh,
it
yes,
squeaked
that's
out.
Right.
It squeaked out. It was because, like, here's the thing: a lot of them were pretty close in terms of number of fouls, but Joey versus Weevil squeaked out because of all of the additional chicanery that happened during that duel. So at that point, yeah, the worst technical duel was going to be Joey versus Weevil Underwood, which is very sad because I still kind of like that duel and what it's supposed to mean for Joey.
I would agree with everything that you just said, Adam. In fact, my least favorite duel, the Joey versus Weevil one, was a runner-up.
Yeah. No.
But for all the same reasons, like
Yeah.
I didn't enjoy it, but I understand why it was present because it was everything that like it was something that needed to happen for Joey.
Yeah,
Albeit
it's
just the
technically like it is the word. I wouldn't say it was my runner-up because I still have a lot of fondness for it. If I had a runner-up, it probably, surprisingly in this case, would have been Joey versus Mako, because I remember liking that duel a lot, and having to analyze it actually hurt the duel for me, so much so that I don't really like it all that much anymore. But I think it was worth acknowledging that just the sheer amount of Duelist Kingdom logic that went into Joey versus Weevil made it such a slog to sit through and have to analyze, is every card being utilized? Even for this duel, I only had like a few cards that I had to go and analyze because I had a magic card and I had a like the ninja cards, and guess what, boys and girls? No fouls. They all worked the way that they were supposed to. So at that point, like, it wasn't that hard to do, but Joey versus Weevil, that took so long to put all those fouls together. But that being said,
I want to actually, Alex, do you have like a runner-up at all?
Very much. You know what? I'm gonna flip my runner-up, and I'm gonna agree with you. The Joey, the heart of the power of friendship duel. We'll just call it that.
yes.
That one is the worst because it is too long and it is a slog. So
Your runner-up would
that.
be the one that put you to sleep.
Yes,
Okay.
the MAI one is now my official runner-up. The other,
All right.
So yeah, I'm switching on you. I'm flip-flopping here. There you go.
There you go. There you go.
No,
And next time I
that's
see you, I'll make sure to have a
perfectly
flip-flop out to remind you.
Okay.
So that
my
being
gosh.
said, that's going to do it for the preliminary round of the Battle City tournament. And we're not done. I want to once again reemphasize to people, we're not done. We're doing all of Battle City, which means the finals are next. And I can already tell you that is going to be... We're going to try and make it work as best as we can, considering people in master's programs and other people with jobs. But I have no problem saying this. From here on in, the shortest duel is 3 episodes, and that one's at the end. So at that point, most of them at minimum are going to be 4 episodes long. Granted, they will be some epic fucking duels, but they'll also be
one of them
fucking
is
long.
6 episodes.
What? Yes, the highest one is 6.
Oh god.
The second highest is 5. So that ought to tell you something, people. But yeah, I think the lowest one is 3, and that one is the battle for the bronze. So at that point, that's way at the end of the Battle City Finals. But we look forward to being able to do this with you guys. Thank you so much for supporting this, as well as being able to showcase your love for these duels. And we look forward to having you guys join us for the Battle City Finals, starting with the most epic one to start off of, Yugi versus Bakura. One of my favorite finals duels is going to be one of the first ones we take on. So thank you guys so much for joining us on this wild ride. It's only going to get wilder. If you want to continue to support us, if you're on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe and check out some of the other content that we have going on, including some of the live streams and other podcasts that we are doing. Especially since we are getting to that point where we're going to have some Geek News movie nights with Alex the Shadow Blazer discussing both Aliens, so the sequel to Alien, as well as Top Gun Maverick. This has been a highly anticipated podcast for us to do, so this will be interesting considering how many years we railed on that movie and considering our verdict on it. So you guys can look forward to that. You can also support us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Spotify and Player.fm on podcasting platforms. Leave a review. It definitely helps out. And we will see you guys next time for Yugi versus Bakura, aka the debut of Yugi's God Card. Until then, we'll see you next time for... Is he still the executive producer? Yes, he's still the executive producer, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Who?
Slifer, the executive producer!
Oh my gosh.